Now at noon, President Trump in Dayton in the wake of Sunday's shooting in the Oregon district there in the downtown area of Dayton. The president and first lady arriving at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base around 11 o'clock this morning. 9 on Your Side anchor Tanya O'Rourke has been out there in the Oregon district at the scene of that shooting throughout the morning. Tanya, what's happening there now?
Well, things seem to be a bit calmer. We were talking to you at the top of the hour, Julie, that tensions were getting a little high, and they seem to be the little skirmishes here and there. Where I'm not suggesting anyone's touching each other, but little verbal skirmishes going on here and there. But the addition of police and firefighters in this community along 5th Street now seems to have taken this all down a notch. A lot of these folks are hoping, they're standing here, they've been here for hours and hours, just hoping that President Trump and his motorcade will come by. We don't believe that that is going to happen. As we understand it right now, the president's motorcade is headed back to Wright-Pat Air Force Base. They're supposed to be wheels up approximately 1 o'clock from Wright-Pat. What we understand that he did was go to Miami Valley Hospital, meet with the folks who are still in the hospital recovering from their injuries, and that he probably at that point spoke with first responders, law enforcement officers who were the ones who took down that shooter on early Sunday morning when he began and fired so many rounds into the crowd that was out here just trying to have a good time, killing 9 people and injuring 27 others. And by the way, investigators say the shooter, Connor Betts, had an obsession with violence. Now, Julie, we should tell you the FBI has taken over parts of this investigation. The FBI says Betts was never on their radar, that this massacre was not racially motivated. In fact, investigators are now looking for new information about his past behavior, which according to some accounts is a rather suspect leading up to this shooting. We want you to know that there have been protests going on outside Miami Valley Hospital since early this morning. We saw the baby Trump balloon that was out there with about starting at about 24 protesters all the way up to about 150 short time ago. Secret Service, though, when he was at Miami Valley, seemed to move those crowds away as much as they could. And back here in the Oregon district, as I mentioned, we now, and I don't know if Ramsey can get this, but there are now police that have been patrolling this area. And it seems that the crowd is getting a little bit thinner here, right? So not so much the car traffic. The car traffic seems to be getting heavier and heavier. People wanting to come by, gawk. They're driving and rolling video on their cell phones, trying to shoot what's happening out here. But you can see there are Dayton police out here. They're standing in front of these crowds, making sure they're not getting into the street, keeping the peace, as it were. And for the most part, I think most people left are just here to just show support for the folks, you know, that unfortunately lost their lives or were injured on Sunday morning. I want to go to Evan Millward, who was at Wright-Pat Air Force Base when the president touched down. Evan?
Yeah, and Tanya, we will likely be here as Air Force One is wheels up on its way to El Paso. That's the next stop. The El Paso mass shooting on a larger scale happened less than 24 hours before the one right here in our own backyard in downtown Dayton. The president is on his way back here to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base right now. Wheels up is in just a few minutes, but he just left Miami Valley Hospital, where we have a live picture. You can see that scene there is starting to clear around the hospital. We were told he was meeting with the hospital there, and that picture has been brought down as the president has left, is my understanding. So I want to show you some video as the president arrived here about 90 minutes ago, landing Air Force One right here at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. As you can imagine, all of the base security here ready for that. Also, some of the key players politically here in the Dayton area, the Miami Valley area. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine meeting with the president. First Lady Fran DeWine, they were the first people the president and First Lady met when they got off of Air Force One as they landed here at Wright-Pat. Then Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley and Senators Rob Portman and Sherrod Brown, and then a really interesting, powerful moment here. Congressman Mike Turner, who used to be mayor here in Dayton, his daughter Jessica was across the street from Ned Peppers, was there running for her life. She called him at 2 a.m. Sunday to tell him she was okay and to tell him what had happened. Mike Turner has now backed Governor DeWine's proposals. We've been trying to ask, we were hoping to get some media availability with the president today as he deplaned Air Force One, to ask if That 17-point plan from Governor Mike DeWine is something that could be broadened out onto the national scale, and if there was any interest in it. Before he boarded Marine One to get to Andrews Air Force Base at the White House today, the president told the White House press corps that he did believe that there is a national appetite for background checks and expanded background checks. That is something we will need to keep an eye on as well. Again, the president expected back here at Wright Pat Air Force Base any minute now to begin his trek to El Paso. A solemn day for the president and the first lady as they travel to the scenes of the two most recent mass shootings in our country. Tanya.
All right, Evan, thanks so much for that reporting. Let me also say this. The president's visit here has clearly sparked passion, whether in support of the president or not in support of the president, and whether in support of background checks or in support of absolute gun rights. It has sparked passion in a community that is very, very, very upset. Let's pan off here real quickly. What are we looking at, Hillary? We know that the police chief himself has been driving by sporadically to see what's been going on here on the streets here in front of Ned Pepper's. This gentleman on his motorcycle has gone by many, many, many times. You see a police officer here talking to folks, or trying to just keep them at bay. And I will say it's spread out, as I told you, like it seems to be fewer and fewer people on that side of the road. They must be coming to the realization that the president will not be coming through 5th Street here in the Oregon district. Julie, that's about it for now. From here, of course, we're going to keep an eye on things. We'll be back starting at 4, 5, 5:30, and 6 o'clock tonight.
Tanya, I guess it would make some sense that the victims that are alive, who survived, are at the hospital, and so that's where he spent his time. But
Right.
I imagine we'll have some remarks from him later, whether they are here or from El Paso, as he spends this day addressing these mass shootings. Thanks for your report out there, Tanya.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll check back in if anything more happens.
Yeah.
In the meantime.